It's time to get all your Star Wars news in a single file. From Bantha Tracks TV, this is Good Morning Tatooine!
Good morning, Tatooine, indeed. We are back with not your weekly recap of everything Star Wars and Lucasfilm, but instead a special pre-recorded show, because I'm busy working the weekend before Christmas, making sure that you've got stuff to buy in the shops. So joining me for this pre-record, my co-host, Paul Naylor.
Hello, Brian.
And from fathertracks.com, Jonathan Hipkiss.
Hello there.
Hello there. So lots to discuss. We've got a few topics we've picked for a special show just before Christmas. And then we're going to do a special episode 4 review of the Skeleton Crew. And be prepared. I have thoughts. But first of all, are you all set for Christmas?
No. Definitely not.
I am wrapped and ready to go.
Oh, yeah.
See, I haven't got a single thing prepared.
Wow. Yeah, but you've got a really nice new shirt there, Brian. Look at
It
that.
is my Bespin. This side, the Bespin Cloud City.
Did you know, Bri, this year Christmas falls on December the 25th?
Oh,
There we go. It's a
Just in
Wednesday.
case you needed to prep.
full of useful information as ever.
It's a Wednesday. It gives me from 4 o'clock on Tuesday to go Christmas shopping. When I finish work at 4 o'clock on Tuesday, I will get my Christmas shopping done.
Everybody's getting presents from...
Basically, I'll find some time on Sunday night to do my Christmas shopping, and whether Christmas happens or not, all boils down to Jeffrey Bezos's Prime delivery.
You're going to be getting all your presents from the 24-hour garage up the road.
Yeah, that's how it works most years.
Petrol is a good gift.
Never muted my phone, people. Schoolboy error. Nothing exciting happening from Sky News. But I reckon we should get on with the show and start discussing some of the topics we've picked for tonight. And first off, Paul, is our Christmas wish list? What kind of Star Wars merchandise are we wanting for Christmas this year?
Right, if I could have anything, I rather like that C-3PO helmet thing that came out just a month or so ago. That was really cool. And the fact that you could turn his eyes red and make him into the Rise of Skywalker version, I quite like that. So that would probably on the top of my wish list.
Who was that from?
Was that a Hasbro thing, John? Do you remember?
No, Disney store.
Was it?
Yeah.
And I think it was full scale, but it looked really nice. I could just imagine that looking very nice in my office on the desk. Yeah, and I think it came out with various phrases as well and different things. So,
yeah, you could have it. You could take off the gold sort of encasing to make it episode 1.
Yeah,
and it had the Red Eyes Rise of Skywalker. But we only had about, I think, 5 or 6 at Disney Store London, and obviously they went.
Really? Is that all?
Yeah, they went in about 5 minutes. That was that.
So I really do need to be on the good list and get Santa to sort that out for me. But I don't think it's going to happen.
Have you been a good boy?
I've not been a good boy. What about you, John? What are you wishing for, mate?
Well, what I'm wishing for, I hope can come true, because my girlfriend has promised to make me something Star Wars, but I have high expectations because for my birthday, she made me the Muppets as Star Wars. I had Kermit as Luke, Miss Piggy was Leia, and then Gonzo was Darth Vader, and they're all unique and they're amazing. But now she's promised that these are going to be topped. These Muppets, apparently, this gift has far exceeded. So I'm very excited. So I will let Fantha know what this handmade.
Well, she's very creative. Was it your girlfriend that made the little Jawa pegs that you had at Echo Base?
Yeah, we made some peg doll characters.
Yeah,
and then I made some for Echo Jawa to trade for the other swag. So I'm hoping. I mean, I'm happy with whatever. But yeah, been getting into some just handmade, silly, unique things lately.
Oh, you're turning into Mr. Newbold. What about what about you, Bri? Is there anything that you'd really like?
Bear with me. I have a reveal.
Oh, oh, oh.
Has he got a C3PO helmet?
No, I thought for a minute he was wearing just a shirt.
Is it? Oh,
Oh, hello.
cue the suspense music.
I know.
Oh no. Oh, what is it?
Oh, hello. No. Oh,
Oh wow.
is it finally come? Is this the Indiana Jones
The
thing that's
aforementioned
never gonna
Jeffrey
arrive?
Bezos delivered my collector's edition of Indiana Jones. And
So this means that
where
the
Game
arcade.
UK let me down, Amazon have filled the gap.
So we're going to finally get some arcade reviews.
I've got no excuses left, Paul. I'm going to
Every
get
week
some
we
done.
promised.
So my Christmas wish list is here. It arrived about an hour ago.
All right. Oh, brilliant.
So I will do an unboxing over Christmas. I'm going to box it back up and do a proper unboxing.
There may be another show for that. You never know.
And we'll get that up on fantatracks.com. We'll see what is the collector's edition worth all the hype over the past month from me.
Yeah.
As I've counted my miseries of Game UK not being able to deliver.
Well,
I believe it's quite a big game to download. So even for the size of the box, you don't get a disc. You've still to download the game.
What's in the box?
A product code.
Really?
So you have to type the code in, download it. So it's about 100 gig. They give you the box that the game would come in. So you get like the steel box that would have a game in it, but there's no game actually inside it, just a code. So I think it's about 100 gig. So in my internet connection, it might take a while to download.
Nice. Oh, well, at least you've got it.
I've got it. So I'll start the download.
Honestly,
it might be ready
John,
for Christmas.
all I've heard for the last 4 or 5 weeks is, oh, Indiana Jones thing ain't going to happen. Oh, tell you. Poor Bri.
That was my live reveal. I've got it. It's here. And my poor delivery driver, he had to try and carry that along the road with everything else today to get delivered. So he will be my best friend.
There's nothing in it. It was light as a feather. So.
It is incredibly light, actually. There's a globe. What's in it? There's a huge globe, and there's all lots of little bits and pieces, indie-related garbage.
But you haven't had a chance to look at that yet?
No. Literally, that's the first time it's come out of the box. So Jeffrey Bezos has succeeded on one thing on my Christmas list, which is my present, which was the most important one.
You bought that for yourself. So,
yeah. So, anything else on your wish list? Or
some time so that I could have gone to Japan, really, but that's not going to happen, unfortunately. I've got the resources, I just haven't got the time. So, unfortunately, no. But never mind.
Yeah, we also need some extra hours in the day, don't we?
Yeah. You two go and enjoy. Don't worry about me. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. Japan's going to be exciting, I think. But
is everything booked and ready for you now, Bri?
I have booked my flights. I have a hotel for the days of the convention, but nothing else as yet. So I'm going to plan where about in Japan I want to go, and then book accordingly.
What about you, John? You all mapped up?
We did flights back in June, and then from September we took about 5 or 6 weeks to plan out the itinerary. But I'm quite conscious because my girlfriend's coming, trying to sort of keep everybody not happy, you know what I mean? Make it so go some different. So we've like there's Osaka, Kyoto, other places that I cannot remember the names of, and then like a day at Disney. So trying to, because I'm quite conscious that that chunk of time will be taken up for celebration and then go and see some places she wants to see. So we'll be out there for about 13 days in total, I think.
Right, nice. About you, Brian? You going to go for a couple of weeks?
Yeah, so I'm out there for 2 2 weeks, so Saturday to the Saturday. But we've got like a long journey time back, so probably only the 10 days actually on the ground, I think.
Well, I mean, a couple of days is just going to be sheer jet lag.
Yeah.
So you sort of do need to take off a day. That's what we've done when we get there. Just haven't planned anything. Just be staying in Tokyo, I think.
Yeah, I think that's what we're going to do. First week, do everything sort of Tokyo based on Celebration.
Yeah.
Second week, see a little bit of the country.
We're going to do about 15 pre-records then because of this.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to have to. There's going to be at least 3 Sundays lost. But yeah, there'll be.
How you fixed, John? We can do that in a bit.
I'm happy. I'm game. I'm game.
I'll change my top.
John, you've also got the TVC Ghost as well. Has arrived for you?
The Ghost came on Tuesday. However, due to gigs and stuff, I had about half an hour free when it came, but I didn't want to rush it. And I was very good. Then last night I didn't have any time, so finally tonight did I unbox it, and it took an hour it was a two-man job to unbox it. It was really well packed. I've sent some videos to the team. I think they're going to put some on the Panther feeds and stuff. Really well packaged inside, and then assembled it, and it's out now. And all I can say to you is, I'm a man who's not very good at maths, because I vastly underestimated the dimensions of this thing.
So you've got nowhere to put it.
I have absolutely. I'm thinking maybe the bathroom is.
You can always just dangle it out the window on a bit of cotton.
It's big enough for a you could get a baby in this thing to drive it. It's huge, but it's absolutely stunning. It really is. They've excelled themselves with this thing. They really have.
I think that's it. Sorry, on you go.
Bounty. Sorry, yeah, bro. I think I saw Box Bounty doing like a reveal of it and open. He did a tour, if you like, of the ship, and the detail they've gone into, the weathering of it and everything is superb, isn't it?
The interior, it's too. It would look silly if I tried to hold it for instance.
Yeah.
The interior of it, the inside of the ship is, because to me the sort of modern best toy that you hold to standards is the BMF, the 2008 BMF, whereas this is just, I mean, it's on that level. It's absolutely stunning. The figures were so because if you remember with the crest, Grogu and the off-world Jawa were just sort of shoved in. Mine were okay, thankfully. Most were okay, but there was a separate box, all packed, all double packed. Everything was backed. It was so even. It was a sight to behold with how they'd packed it. To be fair,
I think most of the money that you've paid out goes in the packaging.
From what I've seen tonight, I really do agree. But it's absolutely gorgeous. It's huge. It's both. It's the ultimate toy. It's a ship and a play set.
Yeah.
I was having the same thought when I took the Indiana Jones collector's edition out. I want to display the globe because the globe's lovely.
Yeah.
But then the box, can't get rid of the box.
No.
So we're gonna have to find a space for the box.
Here's the box. The box is just.
The box has become a piece of furniture.
Absolutely. This is where I will be having my TV dinners from now on.
You need to just put a tablecloth over it, a lamp, sorted.
You wouldn't notice. You wouldn't. I did try. I did have every intention for about 30 seconds to wrap it up for myself and open it on Christmas Day. But then I thought, what if I die? This is genuinely. I thought, what if I die tomorrow? I won't have opened the Ghost. So then I opened it.
A bit maudlin.
Life is short, so open the Ghost. This is what I say.
Open the box.
What's in
Get
the
it all.
box?
But a neighbour had to because there was no warning, so it came via Yodel, who
Oh,
aren't
and they're notorious.
they're
Yeah.
no. I mean, they're not. I don't know
Up
whether
there
we
with
should.
every.
Every other shocking, but there was no warning. I saw on the forums that people were having them posted, but I didn't have any. Oh, it's on the way. All I got was a text to say, oh, it's sort of, but a neighbour took it and he almost threw his back out taking it. Would have, I mean, it would have
Very
been
good.
worth it, if he'd had. At least it was. The main thing is the ghost was safe inside.
And you'd have bought him a bag of grapes. It'd have been fine.
Grapes. I'd have got him a cup of cold water, maybe.
Don't like him that much.
So it's fantastic. My only this is good. This is way back nitpicking. Is you had to buy Sabine and Chopper separate. Uh,
Right.
Obviously all the now all the four figures are together, but I mean, really for the cost of it, I mean, this is the tiniest, minute thing.
Yeah.
Maybe we could have had Sabine and Chopper in.
Yeah.
You would have thought you would have got the whole crew.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, it looks gorgeous. It's by far one of the best, maybe the best thing that Hasbro has produced.
That's the thing with the Haslabs, that it's the beautiful items, but it's the sheer size of them. So if you're buying them all,
Yeah.
It's the size.
Yeah.
It's honest to God, I wish for a comparison it would. Well, when the box came, I'm an even 6 foot. It came to my waist. The boxes.
But do you think you'd ordered Warwick Davis for a minute?
Well, I mean, for the humor that was inside the box, which was none, he may have been there.
Remind me, how much was this? About 600?
No. It was 500.
Yeah, yeah.
Which
I've not seen anybody trying to sell one yet, but I imagine that'll soon go up.
no, I've seen a few. I've
Oh,
seen
have
a
you?
few. Yes,
Yeah.
some people. If you head over to the Echo Base forums and stuff like that, one guy was asking 750, but I
Yeah.
think he'd taken the figures out.
Right.
So because of course, if you're a carded vintage completist and you
Yeah.
need to have those figures, then you could have quite happily opened them today and try and sell it tomorrow. I'm not a complete. I just sort of
Get
saved
the
for it
things you
and
want. Yeah.
wanted it and stuff like that. But yeah, it's gorgeous. I don't think anyone will. If anyone's disappointed, their expectations must be. I don't know what they're expecting.
Yeah. Is
So
it something that you considered, Bri?
no, definitely not. No, I don't have a space. I have this constant fear with the sheer worry of comics and books that I have, that the roof
Yeah.
may come down. But yeah, so I've kind of given up collecting over the last 2 years. I've kind of just stopped. So I'm kind of just pick up the occasional item that I like, which is hard to wean yourself off buying everything, because I bought from
It is.
1977 till now. Until 18 months ago, I'd bought every single comic and book and every single variant of
Wow.
that, including international editions, and it was insane. And I just stopped overnight. And I'm now back. I still collect the trade paperbacks of the comics, but I don't collect the comics.
I think for me, I mean, I was quite an avid collector of the Black series, and once it started getting a little bit sort of there's a number of repeats, repaints, then we lost the window for a while for no real reason, and then the window came back. I was out of it for long enough to think to break that almost addiction, if you like, and because I broke the addiction, as John knows, I went along to various events and started selling some of the stuff. And the actual selling of my collection, the buzz that I get from that now has replaced the buzz that I used to get from collecting it. Don't get me wrong, I'm not getting rid of all my Star Wars stuff. It's just that there's certain elements of it that I'm happy now to move on to other people. I mean, I'm still sticking with my customs. I've got pretty much all of the original figures. There's just a few of the last 17 left to get. So that'll be my focus going forward. But yeah, I don't think the producers of these products do themselves any favors, because I would imagine with you, Bry, you'd have got to a point where you were really struggling to get some of the variants or get hold of some of
Well,
the
I
books or the
never
comic.
really struggled to get the variants because I've been doing it for so long. You kind of have all the connections that can hook
Yeah,
you up.
yeah,
But I got to the point where it was the War of the Bounty Hunters series, which
yeah.
was um, just average short issue comic series. And issue number one of that had just over 50 variants, I think it was in the end.
Just over 50.
Yep. And 45 of them were either Boba Fett or the Mandalorian,
Yeah,
just their helmet. And it was all like practically looked all the same.
just
And it
slightly
probably
different.
cost me the better part of £1,500 to get them all. Just one issue of a
Yeah,
random
I'd have been
comic.
out.
Because all the stores are obviously, they pay a lot of money to get the variants. And then so you're $30-40 probably for each store plus shipping. And it was just
Wow.
like, this isn't fun. Why am I doing this?
Yeah,
And you're not getting anything of a quality um, that I felt, whether that's story wise, art wise. It felt like a lot of it was just AI drawn,
yeah, yeah,
repeat covers, and it was just like there was no originality or thought. And you hadn't, the artist hadn't spent a lot of time. Let's just do a helmet, a Boba Fett. Let's do the Mandalorian. It's like there was no style to most of the covers, and that at that point it made. I didn't stop overnight, but it just I started to realize this isn't enjoyable anymore.
yeah,
The
yeah.
second it stops being enjoyable, that's it. The whole so it's like a house of cards,
It
really.
is.
Yeah.
It is. No, you're right. So when I was at the last Echo base and I took quite a lot of stuff with me, I had to keep some under the table. There wasn't enough room. But a guy came along asking for something specific. I think it was the Bosk on the re-released card, and I've got one. And just seeing him be so happy that because he said that he got all the bounty hunters then for Black Series. That was the one he needed. Just seeing how much it made him happy, and the fact that I was completely aloof regarding losing it, it was just great. So, if I can help other people out with the stuff that I've got, fantastic.
And receive that cold hard cash
Yes.
in return.
Talking of
You know,
that, cold hard cash, something that did generate cold hard cash, but probably ended a lot of enjoyment for some people. We're 5 years on from the Rise of Skywalker. How slick a link
It's
was that?
seamless, Bry. Right, it is seamless.
Seamless link.
Go on then, Bry.
Yeah, we're
Bry, what
five.
were your memories? What were your memories, Bry? Take us back. Where were you?
I really was incredibly disappointed with the Rise of Skywalker. I had high hopes when J.J. Abrams came back, but it was just a mess of a script. Was it his fault? No. Lucasfilm seemed to be in this phase of we're not happy with what Ryan Johnson did. We want to undo everything with the third film. Yet they had him signed up to do a trilogy. It was just there seemed to be so much lack of logic, and JJ tried to do too much with the film in
Yeah.
the time that he had allowed and undo what a lot of damage that had been done by episode 8, depending on how you feel. It was just a mess of a film. It's just messy, I thought. And um, I watched it and I came out and I was like, I don't know what that was supposed to be. And I think I saw it maybe 4 or 5 times in the cinema,
Yeah.
and I have never watched it. I bought the home video. I have never watched it since. And occasionally I'll see a clip on TikTok or some other social media and I'll think, I barely remember that from the film. It's like I've like erased it from a memory. So yeah, Rise of Skywalker wasn't for me. Yet some people absolutely love it, and that's what makes entertainment fantastic. Is that it doesn't have to be for everybody.
Right, you, John?
I remember about a week before, I was feeling quite concerned because there didn't seem to be any hype.
Yeah.
I remember messaging, I may have even messaged you, Paul. I was like, well, there was just this basic billboard poster about. Where was it? And then I actually, for the same reason that I don't know how delicate do you want me to be with my feelings towards episode 8.
Be
Feel
honest.
free to go.
Think of this as the therapy group, you know.
It, well, when Ryan Johnson goes to hell, the devil him the devil himself will say, "That's you're a bit too much for me." So, so you need to. Yes, I was. It's 8 is a really poorly made film in terms of style and skill, if you want to break that down. But then, so at the time, I remember feeling quite jubilant because it was this big middle finger, wasn't it? You know,
Yeah. For the Last Jedi.
Luke catches the saber,
Yeah.
and he literally says, I was wrong." And so at the time, but then after you sort of go, well, actually, it doesn't make sense because you could completely omit 8 and just go 7 to 9,
Yeah.
which if you want to do that, you can, but that's not good storytelling because it should go 7, 8, 9. JJ did too much. He tried to wrap up 9 films. There was no need. Just wrap up the 3.
Yeah.
There are some good moments. There's some really good. There's some good performances. We get like a solid Luke Skywalker for 5 minutes, how Luke is meant to be. But then, of course, there was that great meme a few years ago, and it said, if you're a young scriptwriter and you're concerned about your talent, do not panic because somebody wrote this line, and it just says somehow Palpatine returned. And you sort of go, but Lando was Billy D was ace, and
Yeah.
uh, it's I think episode 9 is sort of like the one night stand you had, and you go, that was good, and then you wake up and you go,
I think episode 9 was like a sad ending to
Yeah.
a lovely series of films. And I wasn't a fan of episode 8 at all.
Nope.
But once you've gone down that route, you've kind of got to follow through. And so I don't blame Ryan Johnson. I don't necessarily blame J.J. Abrams because their scripts were approved by Lucasfilm. I kind of blame Lucasfilm for. I think you damage 8 by what you've released in 9. You
Yeah.
should have just followed through and gave it an ending. And because I think you kind of lose everybody with 9 a little bit, in that if you were a fan of the trilogy up to that point, it kind of lets you down a little bit, I think, because it doesn't deliver what the trilogy was trying to deliver.
I liked the idea that they had, which was that of the last 3 films, obviously Force Awakens was Han Solo's film, hence Harrison Ford gets top billing. Then Mark Hamill gets top billing for the second film. And then we've got Carrie Fisher, who sadly had passed away, and got top billing for the last film when she wasn't even still around. They had very limited additional footage of her that they'd taken for episode 8 that they had to rework. And so I think in many ways that restricted part of the story arc. Why on earth they didn't choose to give Leia an honourable death, bearing in mind she'd passed away before 8 came out, and they'd got a shot of her blowing out of a window. That would have been a far more honourable death for Leia and have more impact than the Mary Poppins nonsense that we were subjected to. And then what they had to do in 9 with the limited stuff. I mean, there was all sorts of talk. Will they replace Carrie Fisher with somebody else? Will another actor take on the role? I think they did the right thing by not doing that.
I agree.
But through a series of unfortunate events, and I'm not going all lemony snicket on it here, but because of what episode 8 was, 9 was never going to be an enjoyable ride for any of us, because it was either going to follow through and go where 8 was leading up to, as you were saying, Bri, or be a complete sort of V sign from JJ to Ryan saying, no, you've done the wrong thing here, mate. But he hadn't got enough time in just one film to address all the issues, so it just becomes a rushed, garbled mess.
I think it's kind of shown in the effect that Rise of Skywalker has had, that we haven't had a Star Wars film since. We haven't had a Star Wars film since Donald Trump was president, and we won't have another Star Wars film until Donald Trump is president. Now, that's not an insane thing. Is that not an
Hang
insane
on,
thing to say?
hang on. Somehow Trump came back.
Somehow Trump came back.
Gonna be big. Deadly.
But as a fan of Palpatine, I should have been a fan of Episode 9 because he's coming back. But
Yeah.
they betray the character of Palpatine because he was always this kind of singular person, and he was kind of the puppet master kind of thing, controlling everybody. And you've turned him into exactly what he was against, which was the big religious cult. Because if you go to Exegol, he's got this whole acolytes kind of supporting him, and it's not what he was at all, ever. He was always a singular guy on his own.
Don't
So
you use the A word in this group.
I'm okay. I'm okay.
You're
You're
okay.
okay.
You're okay.
But yeah, it's just this weird one. I think they just got the character Palpatine completely wrong, and having Rey as his granddaughter made no sense to me at all. And having her declare herself a Skywalker at the end of the film was kind of, oh, that's just really cringe. But
Yeah.
there, some people
So
enjoy
5
it.
years ago, 5 years ago, I was in London on the blue carpet for the premiere with Claire from Fantatracks, and we had an amazing day out. We had such a laugh, but it was the whole day was spoiled by the film.
I'll tell you one thing. I watched a film last night, very late on. I was doing some work. I need a film in the background to
Yeah.
keep me working. And it was called One Night in San Diego, a comedy film. It was
Not at a
worse.
Comic-Con, is it?
It was worse than The Rise of Skywalker. So I encourage everybody to go
Wow.
and watch it. It is so bad, you cannot stop watching it.
Who's in it?
I will tell you, because it's the girl from Glee, isn't it? One of the girls from Glee.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah.
And I can't remember her name.
Rachel, something like that.
No, not that one.
No.
I'm googling people. It's going to come up here really quick.
Other search engines are available.
Alexandra Daddario, she's in it.
Yeah.
And,
him.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's kind of why it came up in my feed. But yeah, no, terrible.
See, now you made a big mistake there, Bright. I have to have something on in the background, but I always put a film on that I've watched thousands of times because I don't want to get too sort of involved in the film, no matter how rubbish it is.
Yeah. Jenna Ushkowitz is the girl from Glee that's in it. I'm just going to Google to see what kind of Rotten Tomato rating it's got, because I should have looked at that.
Slightly better than The Rise of Skywalker.
41%. People
That's
like
good.
it.
They
So
do
it could
like
just
it.
be me, but I thought it was the worst
Clearly.
thing I've ever seen in all my life. I thought it was unbelievably bad.
I suspect you weren't the target market.
No, so if you've got nothing to do over the holiday season, check it out, and then you can go back and watch The Rise of Skywalker, and you'll think, it's not so bad a film.
Yeah.
Having ripped apart Star Wars, could we make something better ourselves? So on that, my next question to you, if you could make any film or TV show in the franchise, what would it be and why? Paul, we'll start with you.
Go on then. Okay, the thing that and so many people harp on about this, and I don't care whether it's a film or a TV series, we need more Solo. We either need Solo 2 or we need a series. And I think Alden would be up for for some sort of Disney Plus series. There's so much we could explore with Han Solo, and that was a bloody good film. I enjoyed Solo.
Yes, it was.
Its failure was nothing to do with recasting the character as certain execs linked to Disney might think. It was nothing to do with that. It was a strong performance. He didn't do an imitation. He did his own thing with it, but he was good. He was really good in the role. Chewie was good. Eunice knows what he's doing with that role. Everything about it I enjoyed. Now it's weird because like when I talk to my son, my son's only 21. He's not a fan of Solo at all because he doesn't like how there's so much resolved in it. The Falcon, how the blaster comes about, meeting Chewie. He didn't. He thought there was too much going on, but I thought the narrative flowed. I enjoyed it. But yeah, so for me, more Solo, please.
Jonathan, what about you?
Well, I mean, I would absolutely. I mean, Solo was ace. We've done the negative. Solo was brilliant. It's my favorite of the Disney era. But I would do like Dream Project. Do Kenobi season 2, and
Yeah,
then you can do flashbacks, and the whole thing could be a flashback with Hayden Ewan during the Clone Wars. I think that would be a big win. Like a live action Order 66 series with Vader. Or, and I don't know whether this would be recasting or how where they are with the technology, but we need to see Luke in his prime and rebuilding the Jedi Order, and it's all very nice having those adventures in comics and stuff, but we want to see Luke. Luke's the man. Luke's our guy.
no, yeah,
For me,
that's right.
for me,
Here we
Rogue
go. Here we
Squadron,
go.
which we almost got the movie of, and it kind of fell apart. But I want a Rogue Squadron movie that then transitions into a TV series with Wedge as the general,
Yeah,
and it's just a story of the week adventure with the X-wing pilots,
that's
but
good.
with a twist. Because if you remember back to the Dark Horse comic series, they introduced a character Baron Fell, who was a TIE fighter pilot. He got his own
Yes.
one shot in his little spin-off series.
Yeah.
You spin the Rogue Squadron TV series off to have one that focuses on the TIE fighters in Baron Fell. So you actually see the opposite side of it as well. So maybe, a little bit like they're doing with the Mankind series on Apple TV, where they're now introducing a series from the viewpoint of the Russian astronauts, that kind of idea. So you have the Rogue Squadron on one side, the TIE fighters on the other, each telling their own version of the same story.
I like that. There was rumors going around at one time that Gareth Edwards was doing like a remake of Zulu, and Zulu was going to be told from the point of view of the colonial army, and then also then from the point of the Zulu warriors as well. And like you say, the same story but the different take on it. And I knew that Brian had sided with the Empire. He always does. Always.
Actually, that one-shot comic at the Baron Fell, issue 25 of the Rogue Squadron series, and there was a 4-issue series that came after it, was the best individual Star Wars comic ever written.
Yeah.
Hands down, if you've never picked up a comic, pick up that one. It was so brilliantly written. Such a fascinating viewpoint and character that was introduced. And you could totally build an entire little franchise within the franchise around it.
Brilliant.
So that's what I would make.
Yeah, no, I would like to see that, definitely.
So I'm
Yeah.
still hopeful that the Rogue Squadron film gets made. It's still in development hell, like many other
Yeah.
projects, but development hell. But yeah, I hope it'll get made. I think it has the potential to spin off into a TV series, and it would be cheap, easy TV.
Yeah. Yeah. They need to build one cockpit and keep switching the pilots.
Yeah, that's what I do. And if you look at Star Wars TV at the moment, there is a sort of appreciation that the X-wing pilots are popping up kind of everywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what we want. That leaves one last question to ask before we jump into our skeleton crew review. What do you want to happen in 2025 in the Star Wars franchise? Because there's not too much happening. I'll start with you,
Well,
Jonathan.
yeah, go on, John.
I would have, ideally, you want everyone to be united around Andor, like a complete win. Everyone's on board and everyone loves it because at the minute it's so but I mean, there's that much content. People are bound to like different things. Whereas when we had one film every 3 years, it was sort of. But I mean, this is going to sound so sort of for there to be an announcement and for us to be able to follow through on that. So if they're going to do Dawn of the Jedi, we'll just go all in with it. Don't get scared and cancel and change. So let's follow it. Let's have some stills or something at celebration, and then we can follow that journey through with it rather than because at the minute you sort of go, well, are they doing it?
Yeah, I think the last I heard Jason Mangold spoke on it last month was that they haven't quite finished the first draft of a script, but they're hard at work at it.
Well, I mean, if this one's going to be released in 27, it's going to need to be filming really by next year,
Yeah.
sort of. But then I don't, yeah. So I think just a sort of united, it sounds so really political, a united fandom, and everyone can enjoy and be with it together, rather than sort of because sometimes you feel like, oh, I loved Obi-Wan, oh, Obi-Wan, and you can't quite, and that's not everybody, but
Yeah,
yeah,
it's the collective viewing experience I miss from going to the cinema and just watching Star Wars and having that same reaction with everyone else.
Yeah. I think you both touched on something there. The fact that when you were looking forward to something that came out once every 3 years, you'd only got that one thing to focus on, and it became that shared excitement, didn't it? Whereas now there's so many different ways that people can get into Star Wars that when you go to Celebration, you're not all kicking the ball the same way anymore. There's some people that will go purely because of, I don't know, one of the animated series, Visions. They might be really, really passionate about Visions, but not really give a jot about anything else. And as a Star Wars fan, you find that hard to comprehend. But yeah, so I think less is more. I think if we have something really good quality to look forward to, rather than awful Grogu animations that we talked about in the previous show, Brian, and different things that come out every now and then. Forget that. Stop trying. It's almost like they're trying to divide the fandom. Let's have one thing that we can all focus on and look forward to, and gradually have little bits leaked out to us, and not always necessarily what's actually going to happen. Like the good old days before the internet, where you'd see a still in a newspaper in 1979 of The Empire Strikes Back and think, "Wow, this looks incredible." I miss those days. The actual anticipation of something. Yeah.
Mine, I have two wishes because I'm going to cheat.
We'll go on then.
So my first one, I'd like a TV series called Better Called Maul. It's just about Darth Maul, and like every week he goes on a different mission for Palpatine. I think it would be great. That's my first one. But two, I'd like either one or two things. So either a young Palpatine TV series where he's just a senator on Naboo, and how does he get involved in the dark side and the Sith and all that kind of thing, and just exploring his early days before his glorious rise to power. Or if not that, then I would like to see sort of the early stages of the Empire with Tarkin, with Krennic, with Galen Erso, their side of the story, because I think Andor's kind of shown you can go a little bit dark and a little bit. It doesn't have to be good versus evil. There's a little bit of question mark on either side as to.
But I suppose there is a chance that we will get that. There might be an episode that hands over.
Well,
to
I
that.
kind of hope that maybe that's going to be an episode of Andor, but
Yeah.
I would like it to be something a little bit more than that. But
Yeah.
so that's kind of my hope, something like that to get announced. But yeah, I'm with Jonathan. If they're going to announce something, they announced at the last celebration of the Dawn of the Jedi. I would love it if Japan they could announce that it's been greenlit and it's going into production, and we're going full hog with it.
Bring out some cast and actually have sets and stuff like that. Because I mean, I sort of slight tangent, but you got to feel sorry for Daisy Ridley.
Yeah,
she's just any new film she does, it's all. I mean, God bless her. That last time she said there was a
Yeah.
a big announcement coming, and then 2 days later they sacked the writer. I
Yeah.
thought that's probably not.
Daisy, she's vicious, isn't she?
The problem is that we're so used to having these announcements and then the actual collapse of the project that how can you get excited about an announcement now?
Yeah.
Because you don't know whether it's actually going to
I
get
would
made.
I would kind of hope that Celebration in Japan, there's no new project announcements, and what we get instead is Dawn of the Jedi's happening, and this is your cast, and it starts filming X date.
Yeah.
Dave Filoni's film script's happening. This is your cast. It's going to start filming on this date, and it's going to be released at this time. And start building it the way that Marvel do. And Marvel seem to be able to announce films and projects and deliver on them. I know there's been lots of cancellations in that as well, but
Yeah.
if you roadmap it enough and you fully commit to it, and the same with Daisy Ridley, like I kind of get her out of the hole that she's in at the moment and give her a script that's going to work and run with it, and have a roadmap of films that we can look forward to and focus on. And whilst we're focused on Dawn of the Jedi, Dave Filoni's film, Rey's film, you can be working on other projects behind the scenes. So in 2-3 years' time, you're ready to announce them because you've got a fully approved script as well, and stop announcing projects at the moment you had an idea at the water cooler and don't have a script.
Yeah. I mean, if we go back to that big sort of campaign that they had a while back where they announced all sorts of projects, we never got the Lando, we never got the 3PO and R2 series. There's loads of things that we just never got. And it's sad. It makes a mockery of Star Wars, to be honest.
Yeah. So I think we're all agree, or is it 2025 Lucasfilm? Get your act together.
Yeah. Well,
But
I'm going to Star Trek.
Star Trek. On that note, let's the mention of Star Trek. We don't have Mr. Newbold to comment. He'd be throwing in the Star Trek references in the comments live. We should probably go ahead and go on a Bone Voyage and review
Bone
Skeleton Crew.
Voyage, Brian. Bone Voyage.
I know. So let's run the intro. Oh, I pushed the button. It didn't happen. Oh no, I'm gonna have to do it manually.
I've been on the Falcon.
Here we go. Try it again. It's not happening. Technology has broken on me. Bear with me, people. We're going to have to do this manually. This could be tragic. Even on a pre-recorded show, things go wrong. Yay, we're back.
Yay.
It's working. Technology's working. If you've been watching us live on GMTV, you'll know that technology doesn't always work. But we're here. We're ready to talk this week's Skeleton Crew.
Even though we're pre-recording it, we're not going to edit that out, are we?
No, we're not going to edit. We don't edit out the mistakes. We're raw and unedited. This week, episode 4, a Skeleton Crew. Can't say I remember. No Atin is the title of the episode. I'll come to you first, Paul. Your overall thoughts of the show this week.
Okay. I loved episodes 1, 2, and 3. Episode 4 went down that familiar route of being a filler episode, as far as I was concerned. And we've had it in previous shows. Of course, The Acolyte was nothing but filler. But we have had in previous things like Mandalorian and even in Ahsoka, there's been the odd filler episode. But yeah, for me, it was the one that felt least like Star Wars. Whereas 1, 2, and 3, there were connections in there that pulled you back into the galaxy far, far away. This felt like it could have been a very generic sci-fi show in its own right. There were some nice bits in it. I really do like the Jude Law character. We can't even call him a name because he's got so many names now. But the Jude Law character who's trying to wind the kids up, saying, "I'm joking, I'm joking." I don't think we've not really had that in Star Wars before. But the one thing that really sort of I thought was quite a genius move is it looks like there's a load of these planets that begin with at, there's some sort of bizarre experiment where they construct the same planet, replicate it down to its finest detail, and then throw a situation at each individual planet. So this one was very much a war planet, which was something that Neil was struggling with because he was trying to explain to one of the female characters that his home planet was essentially the same but a peaceful planet. So that I quite liked. But all in all, certainly the weakest of the series so far. How many episodes are there of this? Is it 8?
8,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. So we're at the halfway point. I would have preferred it if they'd have skipped that storyline and gone on to whatever's coming next. It felt like they were just taking a rest to me. But yeah, it was okay.
Jonathan, your overall thoughts?
Pretty much sort of the same. I didn't really. I mean, the production values are good and the direction's nice, and the whole animatronics on Neil, and I don't even think he is animatronics, is he? I think it's all ILM.
Yeah.
But it was the first time. So I'm very much with Paul. I think this is exactly what Star Wars needed, just some good old-fashioned fun. I love in the 80s Goonies and Spielberg vibe and stuff, but you were watching it, and if this were a 2-hour film, if the whole Skeleton Crew was a 2-hour film, this week's episode would be like 5 minutes worth of exposition.
Yeah.
But when it was at its best, is this they have done a really solid job of setting up this mystery of At-Atin and why no one can find it. The kids aren't aware of the war and all this stuff, and that was good. But um, I quite like the kids found the kids and stuff like that. But the trouble that Disney Plus have is because they use a weekly model. Is if this was Netflix, you'd just watch that one and you'd go, okay, and you'd watch episode 5 straight away and forget about episode 4. But because they go weekly, you now have a week to go, that was a bit of a filler.
Yeah.
But it was fine. Yeah, it was fine. I didn't think it was bad in any way. It was just probably you have to wonder, do they have the material for 8 episodes?
Yeah.
That's a fair thing to say, but I am a fan of the show. I think that's important for me to say. I really love the show. It's just fun. It's really good.
The one issue I've got with Disney Plus isn't so much the fact it's weekly, it's the fact that I've got it on the ad tier this time. So I resubscribed for Skeleton Crew, and I'll just go for the cheapest option, $4.99. Why not? And it cut from one scene with Neil to Queen Amidala selling me perfume. And I was like, what's going on? It's just something randomly wrong. But yeah, that's my one issue, is just the fact I'm too cheap to pay for the ad-free version.
But at least you are paying for it.
I am paying for it. Makes a change.
I've got the ad one, and my favorite one that's coming on Disney Plus is the Smith's Toy Superstore advert. But if you'll notice, it comes up at the bottom. Toys do not move by themselves. Really?
Some of the advert breaks have been fantastic. They got on the tram in the first episode to go to school, and it cut to an advert, and it was for ScotRail, and I just thought, that's like, you could make it up. It's like great product advertising. That
product placement.
But yeah,
what did you think of the episode?
Pardon?
What did you think of the episode?
Well, let's.
Oh,
wait!
As if by magic.
Let's jump into the episode, and I will tell you what I think as we talk through it, because I have thoughts, especially revolving around Neil and the Neil Nation. But I want to start. I picked a screen grab from the previous episode. So our little favourite owl, Kim, mentioned that A'atin was one of these ancient Old Republic planets. And I'm wondering, is all these other planets, is this what makes up the 9 ancient planets? Or is there a mystery specific just to At-Atin in itself? I kind of thought the mystery was to do with Atat and just itself, and these other planets weren't necessarily that other 9. I just wondered if you guys agreed with that.
I think so.
Well, initially, I sort of thought that they were. I didn't think they were going to do this, but it felt very Stranger Things because the setup of was it at Achachen?
I've written it down here so I can remember where have I written it down? Akron. At Akron.
At Akron, it was the exact same setup of one of the kids' houses, and I wondered if it was some sort of it felt. I didn't think that they would do it, but it felt very ghostly parallel universe.
Yeah.
That they were wandering in the same because the stairs were the same, and I thought, oh goodness me, that's where the house droid went past. So there was something. I don't know. I'm wondering if
my thought was when they came back and it was destroyed. My initial thought was it was some kind of time leap. Because obviously it's kind of been playing this idea that they've had no outside contact since the Republic days before the Empire. I thought maybe they've gone back and they're actually caught up with time and they've been destroyed.
Yeah.
But obviously that didn't kind of play out.
Yeah, that would have been quite scary.
It seems to be some kind of social experiment going on.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird.
Headed up by Palpatine?
Yeah, he wouldn't do something like that. He's a nice guy. But I noticed when they arrived at the planet initially, it had sort of like I guess I'm going to call it security kind of bases, kind of there. That's kind of protecting the planet, similar to what you would presume Atan's got to keep people away. So it seems to have the same kind of setup.
Oh, which you can see on the screen now, like the security things around. Yeah.
And the kids initially thought it was their planet. It kind of looks almost exactly like their planet. So how do you sort of make an entire planet look like somewhere else?
Yeah.
It's kind of.
I don't think they weren't traumatized enough by that, were they? Really?
No. It was kind of strange. And they kind of venture down, and then they start to realize something's quite not really right. And they venture out, and it's traditional Star Wars fog. We like a bit of Star Wars fog, and to like a playground, which was kind of seemed familiar to them. So almost, as you said, it's kind of an exact replica, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
And
that was striking, wasn't it?
So it's effectively her house, and it has. If you look on the left, you can almost see it's kind of got a mural similar to what she had in her house.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can see the murals a little better there. It's kind of just really odd, and I kind of like a mystery, so I'm kind of digging it. So I know
I love the mystery element to it. I think for the first time, we don't know, and that's fine. And the fun is the speculating.
Yeah.
I kind of think, whilst this episode kind of feels like a filler episode, by the time we get to episode 8, this episode might have a little bit more importance to it.
I was going to say that. Yeah. Sometimes you need to see the end before you can go back and appreciate the middle. Yeah.
We also had an interesting bit with Jod when he steals some money from the kids' belongings, and
from their college fund.
Yeah. It's pocket money, and it's worth millions to everybody else.
Yeah.
And SM-33 kind of confronts him and stops him, but Jod's kind of able to find some kind of level with SM-33 where he can sort of communicate with him. It's kind of manipulated them a little bit in a way. And I'm really enjoying the two of them. All their interactions have been really good. I'm not a fan of droids, as you know. But
do you suspect that they actually know each other?
I suspect that Jod knows SM-33's original captain.
Yeah.
And we're going to get a Captain Jack kind of, and Captain Jack's father kind of moment. It could be Jod's father, I think.
What if the original captain turns out to be Hondo?
Quite possibly.
That would be cool.
Hondo ship was in episode 3.
Yeah,
Okay.
in the spaceport. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going with the theory that perhaps the captain of the original ship was Jod's father.
Right.
And that's when we'll find out Jod's real identity.
Yeah.
But yeah, we see a little bit more of what's happened to the world that they've landed on. It's kind of, all of it is kind of wasteland, the whole thing, and including a statue, a headless statue. So once again, there's still this mystery.
Yeah.
And our group of kids are immediately kind of held hostage by another group of kids who are pretty much well armed up. And we learn that this isn't the planet that they thought it was. It's not at Aten. It is, in fact, at Akron, which, to start with, I was like, oh, that's really cringe. But as the episode got on, I kind of accepted it, I guess. And this is like, Jonathan, as you said, like the planet is exactly like Atatin in every way, in that that's their school. As far as they were concerned, that's their school building. And the kids have held them hostage. They pretty much set up their base inside that, and they're taken to the leader and pretty much held hostage there. So again, the kids are getting put in a little bit of peril, but it's not scary peril, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It started to feel a little bit like what's that zombie show? The Walking Dead. He started to feel a bit like Negan. There seemed to be that sort of veiled threat.
Yeah. So General Strix is the leader's name, and we find out that the young girl soldier that's they originally encounter, Hina, is his daughter. And that becomes a little bit significant, I guess, later in the episode.
Yeah.
But talking about the bit I spoke about, how Jod kind of manipulates SM-33 a little bit here, is kind of gotten SM-33 to the point where we kind of know that at this point that he actually does know about Atatin, and there's something that's blocking his memory and holding him back. And I think Jod kind of realizes that, and he's kind of trying to coax him out of him a little bit, so he kind of takes him off the ship. But things go wrong, and they meet their own group of soldiers, and he's held hostage himself. So we've kind of got Jod and SM-33 held hostage by one group, and the kids held hostage by another. Paul, at this point, did you think it was going to escalate into some big conflict, or what were you expecting?
No, at this very point, I think Jod turns around and says, "Oh, goodness sake, just shoot me now." And to be honest, that's how I was feeling.
There was an element of that. There was an element of that at that point, I think, yeah. Then we start to get the episode's love story, I'm going to call it, between Neil and Hina. And at that point, I'm going to bring up this graphic. Team Runa. Because come on, Neil. He's like, she was his love. And he's kind of just a first hint of interest from another female, and he's just abandoned her.
Fickle, typical male.
Yeah. Like, she's there studying hard, trying to be an accountant, which I understand. It's difficult. And he's out gallivanting around the galaxy. Just terrible. He's like the Greg Wallace of Skeleton Crew. That's my take. Neil Nation, shame on you. I'm all Team Runa. Anyway, Neil and Hannah start to build up a bit of a relationship, and she takes him on a little bit of a tour of their home, which is basically a camp on the roof of the school.
Yeah,
which kind of take Neil's by surprise a little bit, I think. Because I think he started to realise he's basically from a planet that's quite opulent, and these people are really struggling. and we see a really nice scene where Neil offers up his daily ration of food to I was going to say some homeless kids, but it's just some kids sitting not doing anything at the side of the road, and Hannah's kind of impressed by that. I thought that the kid Robert Timothy Smith that plays Neil, fantastic in this episode, really great performance. Paul, what was your take on?
Yeah, I think the whole the thing that's underpinning the whole story here is it's the take on comparing the very narrow difference between having a nice lifestyle and living on a war-torn equivalent. It's almost like the flip of a coin, isn't it? And Neil could quite clearly appreciate that At-Atin was a far more pleasant version of this planet. The one thing that struck me about this young girl here, I was kind of thinking that she could evolve into being Ray's mom. She's got the staff. She's got that sort of thing about her. And I was just thinking, because this is set way before Force Awakens. This is Ray's mom. John, you heard it here first. Don't look so disgusted. This is Ray's mom.
John, your take on that?
He's gone. He's gone.
Yes. Yeah, I too thought. Well, I thought that this was Lando's sister.
Don't mock me, young man.
Yeah. Oh, Ray's mom.
You heard it here first.
Breaking news scoop. No, yeah, I thought that Neil is sort of because he's the most innocent, he's the emotional core for the viewer, and Neil is us, the one sort of questioning and just wanting to get back home. That's generally what your everyman would do in that situation. So Neil has become the important thread, really, because you've got your sort of whims, your sort of gung ho, and then the two girls are again very different characters. So yeah, Neil's a good character.
Yeah.
Who's apparently gonna shack up with Ray's mom.
Yeah, that's basically it. It kind of learns that pretty much the Troiks, they're all about violence, and she shows him her weapon, and he gets a kiss on his weapon later in the episode. But this is the start. This is the start of Neil forgetting about Team Runa. Shame on him. Shame on him. He's like he's at this point he's full on crush on Hannah, and that's her initial reaction. I thought it was a perfect screen grab. And he starts to make his move. He tells a little bit sob story about how life is such wonderful for him and how terrible it must be for her. And,
I think what he was saying to her, Bri, he was asking her, "Do you remember Hale and Pace?
Yeah.
You know, this is clearly where I got my costume from. Am I Johnny? Am I Billy?"
And Neil starts making his moves, and he does that little sleazy little shuffle along the wall. Once again, forgetting about Team Runa. Shame on him. At that point, I was so disgusted that I think the whole Neil Nation should take some responsibility, that they've built up his ego so much that he's just making moves on every woman now that he meets all around the galaxy. Shame on him. Disgusted I was by Neil.
He's a player.
He's a player. That's what he is.
We need like a 2.5 Men spin-off with Neil.
You think?
2.5 Men. Is he the Charlie Sheen character?
Yeah, he's such a player. He never suffers from blue balls. There you go. For a blue elephant.
I'm moving swiftly on.
We went swiftly on to back to General Strix. He has pretty much enlisted the kids, and he wants the kids to fight the opposition.
Yeah, that was quite sinister. He was going to get them to lead them into war.
Yes,
Really
that was
nice.
very random. I thought, like,
You've
on
been
you go.
conscripted, kids.
Like he was deadly serious. So he arms them up and says, "Yeah, you guys pretty much go out there and get our Eopes back. It's all about the Eopes." And they go heading off with their weapons. And Neil, he's a little bit nervous. Not too keen to go into combat. But he does, in order to get his lady friend, impress her. But instead of encountering the opposition, the person they encounter is in fact Jod and SM-33 coming back with a whole herd of Eopes. And it's revealed that Jod has bought the Eopes back off them and he's returning them, thus ending the conflict. Wasn't that nice? And there was a funny interaction, which I thought Jude had some really good scenes in this episode, where he suggested that he change his mind and keep the Opes and get the kids instead as a reward. But I don't know. What was your thought? We kind of seen a sort of slightly different side to Jod Nanowood.
Well, a lot of this was about Fern realizing that she was out of her depth being the captain of the ship, and I think by the end of this, she's got masses of respect for Jod when he suddenly turns up through the mists with SM-33. So it's all about the end. By the end of this episode, it's really about sort of saying, right, Jod's the adult, Jod's the captain, and I think that's how it'll carry on from here on in.
Yeah. So it's kind of agreed that the kids, they're going to go to, what do they call the place? The Fallen Sanctum, which on their world is where the supervisor is, this mystery supervisor who has no name and don't know if he's actually human. I suspect he's a droid.
Yeah,
I think this is a droid experiment. That's what I think now. Evil droids. And we get our sort of, Neil makes his move. Once again, I have to remind you, Team Runa. Basically says to her, why don't you leave your father and your home world and come with me to my rich bachelor pad where I've got a giant jacuzzi bath and join me? Have you seen the size of my blue trunk? And
not this one.
yeah.
This one.
And it's just shameful. He does the little sad face for her as well.
He'd even come there.
She decides to stay, but he does get some success. He does get a kiss. And once again, Team Runa people, Neil Nation, shame on you. And because he's a player, as we've discussed, he just cracks on. He's like, okay, fine. And they head off to the Fallen Sanctum. And they take the lift up. And at the top of the lift, it's kind of like I'm looking at the floor there. You can kind of just see it in the sunlight. It's a little bit Jedi temple kind of.
Yeah.
Some kind of I don't know what you would call it. Some kind of meeting place, I guess, is what I'm going to say. Some kind of meeting place for these planets, I think. I had connotations of the kind of thing they used to do in Stargate here, where they used to have the ancient worlds and the hieroglyphics and that kind of thing. And
I thought that. Yeah.
each column kind of had a name of a planet, all starting with At. So it's all like variations of At, and like this one. So the working theories we've spoken about is there's going to be multiple planets that are very similar, some kind of social experiment or something going on. What were you guys thinking at this point? Because I was like, at this point, I'm getting really puzzled. Jonathan.
Well, I was wondering if this whole thing is because. So here's my equivalent to Ray's mom theory: is that all these could lead somehow to the beginnings of the First Order, because we still, if this place is so far out in the unknown regions, was this actually a sort of back end deal, or did Palpatine know it? I feel that Palpatine would know, and so maybe some of this could be used for how the First Order began. So because it never made sense that suddenly this fleet of ships for the First Order could just arrive. So if this whole spectrum of planets is so far out the way, that could justify why nobody knew.
Okay. I had my working theories, throwing scenes, we're all throwing them out there. I wondered if there's some kind of cloning experiments going on here. So you're not just cloning the world, but when you saw like the murals, it was all, you know, the same alien species as Neil, and it was kind of almost like a representation of time of the same kind of people, the same races and the same kind of people, and it's like I was kind of expecting there to be like a Neil equivalent character on this planet, and there wasn't.
No.
And so I wonder if there's something like that, and is it part of Palpatine's cloning experiments? That would kind of be an interesting take.
Yeah.
But what we discover is that whilst the other planet names are still up there, the At-Atin name and the coordinates and how to get there have been mysteriously removed. And of course, who would do such a thing but an evil droid? As we know, all droids are evil. And he kind of starts having this kind of little bit of a breakdown because he gets pushed by Fern, and Fern uses her trick she's used in a few of the episodes now to try and get the droids to override, and she kind of thinks she could get SM-33 to override, and it doesn't initially work. She gets very tearful, like you mentioned earlier, Paul. She starts to realize she can't be captain.
Yeah, starts to doubt herself. Yeah.
She gets some sympathy from Wim, but then she decides to let's really push it, and her and KB really try and push SM-33 and get him to override and tell them about At-Atin. And it kind of works to some degree. She tells him, I'm the captain, you have to do what I say. Who told you not to talk about At-Atin? And he says that he was here before with his former captain. And his former captain told him that he had to destroy, it was him who destroyed the coordinates. But he also gave him another instruction that if anyone was to come asking about At-Atin, was to tear them limb to limb. So he does his Hulk impression. John, were you expecting this kind of twist that SM-33 was going to be the one who's destroyed the coordinates? He's going to be the one that's going to turn on the kids? Was this something you were expecting?
You could have, yeah, you sort of felt that he always knew more than he let on, because he's a part of the ship, isn't he? And the fact that he's come along for the journey, I think it was the same. I don't know, that sort of bumbling side, Smee and Peter Pan actually knows all of Captain Hook's dastardly deeds, doesn't he? He's not just a foolish comic foil. But the fact that he was getting quite brutal with the kids caught me off guard. But I felt that SME, SM33 is the connection to the past of the story that we don't know.
Yeah, I think so. Paul, would you agree on that?
Yeah, I think the fact that nobody's, said who was your captain. Nobody's asked the question yet. They're saving that one for a later episode, obviously, but that would have been one of the first things I would have asked. Well, who was your captain? But yeah, he was acting very weird, not only in this episode, but in previous episodes. He was sort of he got his stuttering sort of dialogue, hadn't he? And clearly there's something going on, scrambled in his memory bank somewhere. But I like the fact that came across very much like Biff in that alternate reality in Back to the Future 2, where as soon as he heard, he was told that if ever somebody turned up one day asking about coordinates, that I was to sort of rip their limbs off. It was a bit like Biff Tannen kind of thing. So I quite like that. There's loads and loads of like little potted references back to 80s classics, and that was definitely one for me. But yeah, do you think that SM33 has got all the information in him, or is he actually so sort of mashed up that we're not going to find out?
Well, if we carry on, and I'll come to your point, answer your point. Neil, or the Lothario Neil, he comes to the rescue by throwing a brick, I guess, at SM33, which causes SM33 to do his best Sabrina Carpenter Gina position of the week with Neil. And it's up to Jod to switch SM33 off, which basically saves Neil, who does, like he did in the last episode with his dramatic roll down the hill, fake passing out.
Passes out.
Yeah. So
he's fast becoming the Neville Longbottom of this, isn't he? He's that sort of unwilling hero.
Yeah. So that was kind of basically the end of the episode. But to answer your question as to what I think happens from this point, I think that we find that KB is going to try and program SM33 to try and get some information out of him. And that will probably lead us to SM33 telling us a story of the former captain and the former crew of the Onyx Cinder, and we get a flashback, whether it's a full episode or segment, and we find out a little bit more about the captain and the crew and what led them to and possibly ends with them crashing on Atat, and from that point on start to unravel this mystery a little bit.
Yeah, so we'll get to see a pristine version of SM33 with both of his eyes working and everything. So yeah, that'd be good.
I'm wondering, will that be the next episode, or will it be episode 6, which is the Bryce Dallas Howard directed episode? But I am expecting some kind of flashback as to who was that crew, who was that captain, how did they end up on that, and then what is that story?
Yeah, maybe for the next episode, as a sort of aside, waiting for that to happen, we'll go to another similar planet and have a different take on Atatin again. Maybe something that's even nicer than where they live, or something that's even far more terrible than Akron. But yeah, that in itself is a nice little plot device. So hopefully they explore that more, just to drive the message home that this planet has been replicated down to the last building. But I forget which one of you said it. It might even be that we meet the equivalents of Neil, Fern, KB, etc., which would be very unusual. But who knows? It could work really well.
Jonathan, your final thoughts on the episode?
It was fine, but again, it was just really 5 minutes worth of some really good exposition, wasn't it?
Yeah.
To further the mystery. No, I didn't think it was bad at all. I just felt it was, it could have been a few lines of dialogue, but it was good.
I think it'll be an episode we'll maybe appreciate more when we've got all eight episodes together, but for weekly TV, it didn't quite work or capture the imagination, I think.
I think it's left us with some very important questions, but in doing so, not really sort of been that interesting or exciting to watch.
Yeah, I think so. And on
I
that
wonder
note,
if kids who watch it might be a bit bored by this one.
Yeah. And on that note, let's end the Bone Voyage for this week. And just remind everyone, Bone Voyage is part of Good Morning Tatooine, your weekly recap of all the latest Star Wars news, which live streams every Sunday at 9 p.m. in the UK, 4 p.m. in New York. Unless we're doing a pre-record like we are tonight, when it won't be live, but it'll still be there. It'll still be there, so you can still check it out. And we'll be back next week to review episode 5, so we'll see you all then. And let's jump back and conclude this week's show. It's been a bumper edition. We've run really late.
It's an hour and a half.
I know. But let's just have one last reminder. Team Runa, everybody. Poor Runa. Shocking, terrible, as things are. And we should probably do the traditional plugs for Fanta Tracks as well.
Yeah.
Paul, because we haven't done them. So
have you got them?
I have somewhere. I'm looking for them. Here we go. Here we go. Fantatracks.com. Star Wars news in a single file. Get all your news at fantatracks.com. Covering films, TV, collecting, fashion, gaming, literature, music, art, interviews, event coverage, podcasts, and reviews.
And if you're into your social media, we've got it coming out of our ears. We've got Instagram, we've got Facebook, we've got Threads, we've got Twitter. No, we haven't. We've got X. And we've got TikTok, amongst others. So if you're down with the kids, you'll be down with that.
Yep. Fanta Tracks Radio. Check out all the latest episodes and got your podcast catcher of choice. Type in Fanta Tracks Radio. You will find a barrage of shows there and lots of interviews coming up. Lots of different people as well. So check that out. And of course, as I revealed earlier in the show, my Indiana Jones game has arrived. So finally, Fanta Arcade has got no excuse, but we're going to have to make it happen. I'm going to start some regular live streaming gaming. Jabba's Court will be back after the holidays. Obviously, Court's out of session during the holiday season. And Good Morning Tatooine will be here every Sunday. We'll be back live streaming in the new year. Look out for next week's special end of the year review show with Mr. Mark Newbold. And that is us almost done for the week. So I just want to thank Jonathan for joining us. Been great having you on the show, getting all your thoughts. Paul, always great to co-host this with you.
Always a pleasure, sir. Always a pleasure.
And we'll be back for our end of review show next week. In the meantime, happy Christmas. And take a snowball to the face, because we like to be nice to our viewers. And we'll end the show on that note. Thank you very much, everybody, and we'll be back next Sunday.
Keep up to date with the latest Star Wars news each and every day on FanthaTracks.com. You can also find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Tumblr, and Pinterest at Fantha Tracks. And be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and follow Fantha Tracks TV to be alerted to new content and to be a part of our live shows.